Okay guys, so we're moving on to episode 3 here in my food security video series. I decided to call it episode 3 instead of part 3 because episode sounds more Star Wars-esque. A little more Garden Jedi. Anyways, back on subject. So today we're going to cover beans. So beans are going to be essential in your food security. Okay, they're not necessarily going to be green beans because, as you can see here, I've got some more colors involved. They don't have to be green, but for food security, I will suggest that you stick with a bush variety. The bush variety will take less infrastructure. You're not going to have to build trellises and little strings and tie them off and all that stuff. So if you go with the bush variety, infrastructure will be less. Secondly, bush varieties mature quicker. Now there's some debate about flavor. Some people feel that the pole varieties have better flavor. I'm going to say that's debatable. It's up to you what you like. However, if you do stick with the bush variety, you're going to have less infrastructure and you'll be able to grow your beans anywhere. Again, the whole plan here with food security right now is what I'm showing is things you can grow in a bucket or a small garden bed or a window box or something along those lines, so you can get a little bit of food from any space. Okay, ideally I would say put them out in your garden bed. That's how I like to do it. I'm not a big bucket fan, but again, not everyone has the assets that I have at hand to grow their food. So this is why I'm doing this food security and using a 5-gallon bucket as my primary source of garden space. So again, bush beans, 5-gallon bucket, food security. So essential to this 5-gallon bucket bean planting is spacing, and so that's what we need to cover. So to do that, let's jump over to the magic chalkboard and I'll show you how to space your beans properly in a 5-gallon bucket. To the magic chalkboard. So this circle is exactly 11 inch circle, and that is the same dimensions as a 5-gallon bucket, so that I can draw this to scale so you can follow and use my planting scheme on the beans. So 1 inch, roughly 1 inch from the inside lip, you're going to put a bean right there, okay, at your 12 o'clock position. Next, you're going to put one an inch in at 3, 6, and 9. Okay, and then 1, and I think I'm in the center. I'm in the center. Okay, now you're going to bisect, you're going to draw a line, not bisect, you're going to draw a line from here to here. You can either use a ruler or eyeball it, but from here to here, you're going to put your next bean. Okay, same thing, here to here, center of those two, here to here. So you're going to draw your little line from there to there, here to here, and that's going to give you some fairly even spacing. It's going to help you get some even spacing in a 5-gallon bucket because you're dealing with a circle, and sometimes it's difficult to measure properly in a circle. You don't want to go, you won't get proper spacing if you try to go all the way around, and you're going to end up getting it too dense. So you don't want the beans too dense. They won't grow properly, or planted too densely. And you don't want them too sparse because you won't get enough beans. So this is a planting scheme for beans in a bucket. All right, moving on. So guys, for soil, I'm just going to take some topsoil off of my raised beds here. And I'm going to use that for my beans in a bucket. Now ideally you don't want to grow beans in a bucket. You want to grow beans in a bed in large areas. All plants will do better in the soil than they will do in a bucket. But we're talking about food security, and we're talking about people that don't have the room to have a large garden. Not everyone has that luxury. So beans aren't real picky about what you put them in. They will actually make the soil better that they're in. So if you got some crummy soil, you can plant your beans in there, and that soil will be revitalized. It'll be as if you added nitrogen to it. And the reason that is beans, and well, beans are legumes. So your legumes, and there's a variety of legumes out there, they work in symbiosis with this ribosome bacteria, and the ribosome bacteria will attach itself to the roots of your legumes, in this case beans, but beans, peas, alfalfa, I think lupins. There's a few out there that this happens with, and this bacteria actually exists in the soil. So that this bacteria will attach itself to the roots of your beans, and it'll make these little nodules on those little knots, and these little nodules are colonies of bacteria that are taking, I believe, sugar from the plant itself and converting it into nitrogen, which it affixes into the soil or in these nodules. And then when the plant dies, well, all that nitrogen is left in the soil. So then your soil is revitalized. So I'm going to slip a picture in here of one of my, it's a pea plant. It's not a bean in this case, but a pea, same sort of legume, and it's just covered with these little nodules. And that's what happens with beans and peas and these legumes. And so as far as soil goes, I'm not sweating it. I'm just going to use some soil from the raised beds. Now, beans are amazing in that there's just thousands and thousands of bean colors and shapes and sizes out there. So yeah, your mind will just spin when you get to looking at all the different beans. And so it's for the home gardener, it's just one of those neato plants to experiment with, to try new varieties with, to grow and dry them out and look at them. They're pretty little vegetables. So for this case, these beans, I'm going to try out some beans I got from a friend of mine that she got from Baker Creek Seed Company, and they're called the Red Swan Bush, and they're a wonderful pink, red, green bean, bush bean that I've tasted it, but I have never grown it. So this will be a first try for this, and we're going to go ahead and I'm going to want to plant these. Before I do, I need to soak my beans overnight. So I'm going to take my beans, I'm going to put them in a solo cup here, and I'm going to add a little water, room temperature water, and I'm going to let them soak overnight. And that's kind of going to get the skin softened on them and get them started and get them thinking about growing. And you do that for about 24 hours. And then after the 24 hours, we're going to plant them. So to plant them, I'm going to use the pattern I showed you on the Magic Blackboard, where I start at a 12 o'clock and move to 6 o'clock, and then 3 o'clock, then 9 o'clock, and then I'll put one in the center, and then I'm going to add 4 more, which will all be center of between my 12 and 3 and 12 and 9 and 9 and 6 and 3 and 6. So you guys kind of get that. So that's it. Now, in about 10 to 14 days, these little boogers will be popping up, and I will try to shoot some video. We'll do some follow-up videos on that. But this is a step towards your food security, growing a few beans. This may be, if things got real bad, it may be one of the few protein sources you're able to acquire if there's not any meat to be had, or who knows how bad things may get. But it won't hurt you to get some beans out there, give them a shot, and at least have that as part of your food security. So guys, hope you liked the video. Give me a thumbs up if you feel like it. If you don't, give me a thumbs down. I don't care. It's up to you. And we'll see you next time with episode 4. See you later, guys.